So now, leaving the swing style and going straight into rock style. In this case, rock is a little bit more straightforward. Unless you're a Black Sabbath fan, then you know that Bill Ward based a lot of his drumming skills on a lot of early jazz rudiments as well. Especially if you listen to War Pigs in the very beginning, he's doing a swing style to go along with it, even though they're strictly heavy metal. But in this case, rock got a lot of their ideas and a lot of their rhythms from jazz music as well. So in this case, we go back to this one rhythm that we were looking at for swing style. In this case, we get away from swing style, which was 1, 2, 3, and we go right straight forward. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. Or in this case, scoop, beep, ba, doo, beep, ba, scoop, beep, ba, doo, beep, ba, scoop, beep, ba, doo, beep, ba, scoop, beep, ba, doo, beep, ba. So now we took that one rhythm that we were looking at earlier, the quarter note followed by 2/8 notes, quarter note followed by 2/8 notes, and we decided to extrapolate it and make it more suitable if looking at a trap set. So as you can see right now, you can see the quarter note at the very beginning, followed by the 2/8 notes which happen on the snare, going back to the other eighth note which is happening on bass drum, going back to bass drum again, snare, bass drum. So now, as you can see in this diagram before you, right above, you see those 8 set of eighth notes happening there with an X. Now, in most band literature, we like to call that auxiliary notes. In this case, for drum set, we refer to that as the ride cymbal. So the ride cymbal will be playing straight eighth notes as we go along in our rock tune. The snare will only be played once again on counts 2 and 4, as well as the hi-hat, as you can see below with the other auxiliary note below it. You see the 2 H's, which stand for hi-hat. So bass and ride begin first, snare and hi-hat begin on counts 2 and 4, while the bass drum will come in more different. In this case, not only on counts 1 and 3, but on the and of 4 as well. So you'll have a 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and 1. In this case, you can even put together a boo sound for the bass as well as a tss sound for the hi-hat. Boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, boom, etc., when it comes to the rides and snare. So now, bringing that rhythm and that diagram that you just saw earlier, we're going to be able to put all that together now using the same method that what we did with the swing style. So in this case, we want to go ahead and start off with bass drum. Now notice what I'm doing with the bass drum now. Bass drum sounds a whole lot more louder than it did with the swing style. We're no longer doing the feathering method. In this case, the difference between swing style and rock style. Rock style is going to be 80% bass drum and snare drum, while the 20% is going to be on the ride and the hi-hat. And it's just the other way around opposite for swing style. 80% on our 2 cymbals, like I said before, and 20% on bass and snare. But in this case, we're looking at rock style now, so now it's just going to be switched around. 80%, 20%. So now we start off with bass. So here we go, using that 1, 1, and 3, and 1, and 3, or boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, boom. But we're not going to use the ride, well, we're not going to use the hi-hat for right now. So our bass starts first, just like so. Now we're going to incorporate the hi-hat first. Here we go. Now we're going to see if we can incorporate both bass drum, hi-hat, and snare. Now in this case, it's up to, once again, the drummer. It's up to the educator, and it's up to personal preference once again. You can either do it matchstick like swing style, or you can go back to traditional grip. In this case, I'm weird. So when it comes to swing style, I like to use match. When it comes to rock style, I go right back to traditional. So in this case, we're going to incorporate now, once again, bass drum. With the hi-hat, here we go. Now with snare drum. you remember that the snare and the hi-hat always come in on counts 2 and 4, you're going to be just fine. Unless you want to do something that's very complicated, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath style, then that's your own deal. But I would only recommend doing that if you're the advanced student, which we will go over later on in the other section of my bebop, school bop, and all that doo-wop website. So now we're going to try and see if we can incorporate now our ride cymbal. So remember, 80% bass and snare, 20% ride and crash cymbal. I keep mistaking crash cymbal with hi-hat. Sorry about that, folks. Hi-hat, crash cymbals. So that's my fault. We're incorporating 20% ride and hi-hat. So here we go. Bring it now right back to bass drum. With hi-hat, here we go. With snare drum ready. Now with a ride cymbal, here we go. Now I apologize about that, folks, simply because I was playing the ride just a tad bit louder than it should have been. And I know if my old percussion teacher or even my old jazz teacher were here, they'd be yelling at me right now, wondering why is a saxophone player even trying to play drums in the first place? It's just blasphemy beyond belief. Not so. A musician can play any instrument he or she sets their mind to. I'm not going to say that you're going to get it right the first time, because there will be mishaps. When I tried playing this the first time, I had a lot of brain farts. I still am at this time. I mean, come on, I just call this a crash cymbal. For you percussionists that are watching out there, you're probably hissing at me or probably plotting my murder or something. I'm just joking. But with that being said, the point I'm trying to get across, like swing style, gradually bring your student or bring yourself to learn each part of the drum set first before you start playing it together. And we're going to try and see if without me gradually going into it, each section, I'm going to try and see if I can just get right into it right now. 5, 6, ready, and. In this case, I like to say the right hat got a little bit softer, but then again, I have heavy hands. So the heavier the hand, including the heavier the stick. In this case, my other sticks, they were a 5A Vic Firth Japanese oak sticks. They were good at first, but then I noticed that the bead of the stick started to crack and crack and crack until by the time you knew it, a shard of it just started to fall off. And of course, my students were playing around with the stick. So in this case, just remember, like I say in the beginner fundamentals video, the sticks that you want to choose very, very, very good and professional sticks. In this case, sticks for drums, or in this case, drum set, we want to stick with 5A. When it comes to just regular concert percussion, we want to go ahead and just use SD1 sticks. In this case, I have never gone wrong with Vic Firth. The sticks that I'm using right now are Paul Rennick Innovative Percussion, which are strictly used for marching band. But in this case, sometimes a percussionist just has to do with what they got.